What makes a city truly advanced? Is it the tallest tower, the busiest airport, or the most famous skyline? Those things are easy to notice, but the real test is harder to see. The most advanced city is the one where everyday life feels strangely effortless, where transit works, services respond, and the system seems built around people instead of traffic jams and paperwork. And once you look through that lens, the answer changes fast. That is why rankings can look so different. Some lists reward global influence, while others reward smart public services and livability. In other words, there is no single champion. There are different kinds of excellence. So let's take a closer look at 5 cities that keep showing up in the conversation and see what each one does best. Singapore is often the first city people think of when they hear smart city, and for good reason. Here, digital government is not some add-on, it is part of the infrastructure. A resident can handle payments, identities, permits, and services through one connected system, and that level of integration changes daily life in a very real way. Singapore also understood something early that many cities are still learning now. If you want less congestion, you have to manage demand, not just add more roads. It introduced road pricing decades ago, long before most cities were ready to make driving more expensive at peak times. That is not just clever, it is disciplined planning. The result is a city that moves with intention. Its rail network stretches across the island, serving millions of trips every day in a compact space where efficiency matters at every step. But Singapore's real strength is not just transit or technology, it is the way policy, planning, and digital tools work together. The city feels advanced because the systems behind it feel aligned. Even then, the lesson is not perfection. The best systems still have to include everyone, from tech-savvy workers to older residents who may need more support. That is what makes Singapore fascinating. It shows that a smart city is not only about being connected, it is about being usable. Tokyo takes a different route to the future. It is not trying to impress you with one huge breakthrough. Instead, it wins through reliability at enormous scale. This is a city where trains are so precise that a delay measured in minutes can feel exceptional. The Shinkansen network has become famous not just for speed, but for consistency, carrying massive numbers of passengers while keeping delays remarkably low. In Tokyo, punctuality is not treated like a luxury. It is treated like a basic expectation. That mindset is everywhere. The city's rail operators are known for transparency, even issuing delay certificates when service is disrupted, which says a lot about the standard commuters expect. Tokyo also manages density with unusual grace. It is one of the world's largest metropolitan systems, yet it still functions with a calm efficiency that many smaller cities would envy. Streets, stations, neighborhoods, and commercial districts all fit together in a way that makes complexity feel organized. What makes Tokyo stand out is that it proves advanced does not have to mean flashy. Sometimes it means dependable. Sometimes it means a city can absorb millions of daily movements and still feel predictable. That kind of reliability builds trust, and trust is one of the most valuable urban resources a city can have. Seoul feels like a city that has learned how to measure itself in real time. It is one of the clearest examples of a place turning data into a living urban system. Sensors across the city collect information from public spaces, helping officials understand conditions as they change. Congestion, transport flow, and local conditions are tracked and shared through open platforms, so the city does not just react after a problem grows. It sees the problem while it is happening. That matters in a place as large and active as Seoul. Its transit network moves huge volumes of people every day, and major lines carry enough riders to feel like cities inside the city. The scale is enormous, but the experience is still tightly managed. The result is a place where digital tools are not only for convenience, they help shape a more responsive public environment. Seoul is also interesting because it treats the city almost like a laboratory. New services, urban monitoring, and public data all feed into a broader goal: make the city more adaptive. That is a very modern idea. Instead of waiting for urban life to become chaotic, Seoul tries to instrument the chaos and learn from it. And that is one of the strongest signs of advancement. Not perfection again, but adaptability. A city that can observe itself, improve itself, and share that intelligence with residents is a city that is thinking ahead. Copenhagen offers a very different definition of advanced. Here, the future is not about more speed or more spectacle. It is about designing a city around people at street level. One of the clearest signs is the bicycle. In Copenhagen, bikes are not a niche hobby or a weekend trend. They are a core part of how the city moves. A huge share of daily trips happen by bicycle, and that changes everything about the urban experience. Streets feel calmer, distances feel shorter. Daily movement becomes healthier and more human. This is what makes Copenhagen so powerful as an example. Its advancement is visible in ordinary life. The city is built to be livable, not just efficient, and that same philosophy shapes its climate ambitions. Copenhagen has set some of the boldest environmental goals in the world, but the important part is not just the promise. It is the accounting. Carbon neutrality sounds simple until you look at what has to happen to reach it. The city has to cut emissions, change infrastructure, and keep the whole system functioning at the same time. That is hard work, not branding. Copenhagen reminds us that a truly advanced city does not only move fast, it moves wisely. It makes room for people on bicycles, on foot, and in public space. It shows that sustainability is not an abstract ideal. It is a design choice, repeated every day on every street. Dubai brings another version of modern urban ambition. Here, the story is speed, digitization, and large-scale execution. The city has pushed government services into a paperless future, cutting friction from everyday bureaucracy and saving huge amounts of time and money in the process. That matters because advancement is not only about iconic buildings or ambitious master plans. It is also about how much time a resident saves when public systems stop getting in the way. Dubai's transit system tells a similar story. Its metro is one of the most visible signs of a city willing to build boldly and automate at scale. The network is long, modern, and heavily used, showing how fast a city can grow when it commits to infrastructure before the demand becomes a crisis. And it keeps expanding. That willingness to keep building is part of Dubai's identity. It sees transportation, government services, and urban planning as tools for staying ahead of the curve. Of course, that creates its own question. Can a city move so quickly that it still serves people well in the long run? Dubai's challenge is the same as every other city here, not just to be impressive, but to be useful, inclusive, and sustainable. That is the real benchmark, because a city can automate nearly everything and still miss the point if ordinary life is not improved. So what do we learn after comparing all five? Singapore shows the power of integrated systems. Tokyo proves that reliability can be a kind of greatness. Seoul turns the city into a responsive data network. Copenhagen puts people and climate at the center. Dubai demonstrates how fast digital government and infrastructure can scale. Different cities, different strengths. One shared lesson. The most advanced city is not the one that looks the richest from a distance. It is the one that works best for the people living inside it. It is where transit is dependable, services are simple, streets make sense, and the future feels like something you can actually use. And in a world where many cities are chasing bigger skylines, that may be the most advanced idea of all. Which city feature would you steal for your hometown?